There's absolutely no doubt that the South could have won the war. In fact, in some ways, the South came very close to winning the war in the summer of 1862. The English Parliament and the Prime Minister's office were actually at the latter part of the summer of 1862 discussing how to formally recognize the Confederate States of America as an independent nation and mediate an agreement to separate from the Union. So the military victories of 1862 really pushed the Confederacy up to the brink of international recognition. Remember, that's how the Americans won the Revolutionary War. It was the recognition from France and the military support and the support and supplies that came from France was vital to what happened in the American Revolution. So, you know, the fact that the British were willing to step in to mediate the conflict and in some ways try to enforce separation through recognition was the Confederacy's best chance to win.
Well, of course, opinion is mixed on whether or not the Southern Confederacy could have won the war based upon resources and available to the Southern Confederacy. Probably not, unless, as almost happened before Gettysburg, the public opinion in the North was turning so much against the war. The situation could be compared, I think, to what happened to the United States in the 20th century in Vietnam. The United States had the resources to win a substantial victory in Vietnam, but the people lost the will to support the war, and public opinion being what it was, President Ford had to do what he had to do and withdraw U.S. forces. And so the North Vietnam won. I think there are similarities between what was going on in the United States in 1863, 64. United States, in the United States, the public will was declining. There was some belief that President Lincoln would have lost the election had not Gettysburg taken place. And that was a misstep on General Lee and President Davis's part going into Gettysburg. It seemed like a good idea at the time. And with that horrible defeat of General Lee on the battlefield at Gettysburg and the withdrawal, that could be argued, I think, that was the turning point in public opinion in the North.
I think the South could have won the war. I think they had two opportunities during the war to win it. Number one, if Lee had won at Gettysburg, what effect would that have on the war? His next objective had been Washington, D.C. And the South was not trying to take over the government. They just wanted to become an independent nation. In the summer of 1864, the Northern people had become war weary, sort of like the Vietnam War. General Lee had went into trenches at Petersburg, excuse me, and Grant couldn't move him. Sherman couldn't take Atlanta. And the war basically came to a halt in those two theaters. Nothing positive was happening. And the general feeling is that the South could have held on to Atlanta through the November election, that Lincoln would have been defeated by General McClellan, who was running on the Democratic platform. And his platform was to sue for peace in this thing.